Hello everybody, this is Alfonso speaking from CXO Software. We are just about to start today's webinar. 5 dashboards the CFO can use immediately on top of AARO. I'm going to just wait a couple of moments. There's a couple more people logging into the system, so if we could just bear with me for just another 30 seconds. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin today's session. Finance data in AARO. 5 dashboards the CFO can use immediately. So let's do a little bit of introductions to start with. So the 2 speakers you're going to hear today are, that is me on the left-hand side, Alfonso Colonino. I'm the Regional Director responsible for sales and customers across the UK, Ireland and the Nordics region. And I have a colleague with me today, Marcel Lergesti. He is the product manager and the principal consultant based in our headquarters, who's going to support me from a functional perspective on today's webinar. So what do we have planned for you? So here is the agenda. It's a very short 30-minute webinar, and we're going to first of all cover the reporting challenge that we see sitting on top of AARO as a financial consolidation planning solution. So I'm going to describe that in a little bit of detail for you. And then what we're going to do is show you how CXO has managed to solve that particular challenge and how we connect AARO data into the world of CXO and why that is beneficial to yourselves. And then finally, I'm going to do a very short demonstration of CXO, and importantly, 2 key aspects. One is commentary collection within our system, and secondly, showing you the 5 dashboards that a CFO can use immediately from connecting your AARO data straight to CXO. So that's what the plan is today. On your control panel, you will be able to see a chat area. What I do is encourage you to enter any comments at any time, enter any questions. I've saved a slot right at the very end for the last couple of minutes of the session to take care of some of those questions and answers you may do. So please go ahead and enter any questions you may have. So let me just advance to the next position on the slide. And let's just talk a little bit, first of all, about the sort of challenge that we see in the marketplace. And this image is very interesting. It's quite evocative because it's the actual starting point for most of our customers. They have a challenge in terms of month-end reporting. Your books have been closed and you want to produce the board pack ready for the CFO or the management to review the performance of the business in the previous month and how that then projects forward to ensure that it hits your strategic goals. And we tend to see this printed view in Excel or PDF or PowerPoint. So in detail, the actual traditional AARO reporting process is one where if we think back to, well, where does the data actually reside? And there are a number of examples on the screen at the moment on the left side, which are around maybe a general ledger. Maybe you've got data in a planning system. There could be data in a data warehouse. There could be headcount data, which could be in a separate HR system. Maybe as an organization, you have a production data as well. Or it could even be, you can see there's an Excel sheet at the bottom. So maybe you're tracking health and safety, maybe environmental impact issues, maybe market share data that's coming from an external agency. So what I'm trying to describe on the left-hand side is there are many sources of data that can be stored in separate systems that are then typically brought into the world of AARO for your consolidation purposes. Now, they may not all go into AARO. Some of those might skip past the AARO cube itself, but the essence is very similar in terms of bringing the data in and actually doing your financial consolidation in AARO. Now, within AARO, there is the capability of producing reporting, but that tends to not be as strong as the requirements needed by month-end reporting for doing creating of board packs. So typically what we see is data is then extracted from AARO into the world of Excel. Now, some folk in the audience may be sat there thinking, well, we also have a BI tool as well. And we acknowledge that. There are generic BI tools in the marketplace, and you may even have some of these examples that I've put onto the screen, the likes of Oracle Business Intelligence, Tableau, ClickView, Power BI, Business Objects. I mean, the list is endless. And organizations do have these kind of solutions. But what I tend to find when speaking to CFOs and group controllers is that business intelligence tools don't seem to understand multidimensionality. They're not able to extract from AARO. They're not able to create that seamless financial view that's required for producing month-end report packs. So typically the BI tool has been tried but doesn't necessarily fit the purpose of the job. So it tends to be data dumped into Excel. Once the data comes into Excel, well, then you can imagine the production of the report pack takes place. Now, if you're bringing in data from multiple systems and not just AARO, then you've got the manual task of cutting and pasting the data together. You've got the formula management. If you're bringing in data into an existing report pack, you now need to carry forward a total column so that you've now got the rolling forecast taken care of with the totals. You might have some P&L calculations that are not done in the source system, so you might want to do those calculations or KPI calculations within your Excel sheet. And then finally, once the report pack is created, you're now going to have a view that says, okay, the last month showed me this in terms of revenue and this number in terms of costs. And what I want to do is compare that to last month and show the variance between the two. Now, you may have a variance that's not to your liking. It's gone beyond a particular threshold, and you need to understand why is it gone beyond that particular threshold, and is that a trend that has existed over a previous number of months, and do I need to worry about it? Do I need to take a decision that enables me to prevent it happening further? And that's where the context comes into play, the commentary collection or narrative collection as it's sometimes known. Typically, we would see maybe the Excel sheet sent around the business. Maybe phone calls are made to business partners to actually collect the commentary. Cost center managers may need to make narrative notes and send those back to the center and add all of that into the report pack. So that particular phase is very cumbersome. It's very error prone. It's very manual in its production. And of course, it's going to take a long time to get it right. But it is being done every single day as we speak, every month in organizations across the world. It's actually happening today. The report pack is then finalized and sent out to the recipients, which could be the C-level suite, the executive, or it could be to the management who are going to review that information. And as I've described on the previous slide, you saw the actual printed documentation. These are some of the drawbacks associated with this kind of visualization, which is obviously static stacks of paper. You can't drill into any numbers that you see at a group level. You can't obviously search within it. If you have a question at this stage and you want to take a decision about that performance I spoke about in terms of the variance, maybe you have no choice but to go back to the business or business partners and say, hey, I've got a further question that wasn't collected as part of the commentary process, and I can't take a decision until that's answered. Again, I'm describing a natural situation that occurs today, but it also impacts on the time that you take decisions, and therefore you're not actually hitting the strategic goals set by the board. That is a typical view of the world of reporting out of the AARO system. So how can we do it differently within CXO? So CXO has been designed specifically for financial reporting, or digital performance reporting, as we like to call it. What I want to do is just give you a quick overview as to how we would bring the data into CXO, and that is AARO on the left-hand side, bringing data into CXO, and on the right-hand side, you can see some of the key features that we've created to solve some of the challenges I've just described on the previous slide presentation. I'm not going to go through all of these in detail. I will take care of those in the actual demonstration. But what I'd like to do now is just introduce Marcel onto the webinar, because he's going to explain how we get data from AARO into CXO software. So Marcella, would you like to take over from this point, sir?
Yes, thank you, Alfonso. So the connection to AARO, how can we connect to AARO? Well, for that, we actually use our AARO integration adapter. And that adapter extracts both the metadata and the data. And the data is then being put in our own CXO cube. So we extract the data, put it in our own cube, and then what you also see on the slide, CXO makes use of our own cube. So every time when you open up a report, we query the CXO cube. It actually means that we do not have any system load on the AARO system by our CXO users. What you also see is that we use an SQL repository, and that repository is used to store the reports and the application settings. If we go back to the extraction, we have two different types of extraction. You can extract it manually just by pressing a button, or you can also schedule the extraction. And next to that, with every extraction, you can decide what you want to extract. So you can think of extracting certain scenarios, periods, years. That's all up to you. So you can decide to extract, for instance, 5 different years altogether. But often that's not really necessary because history doesn't change. So therefore, you can also decide just to extract, for instance, the current period and the previous period. So that makes the extraction much quicker. It's really up to you how you want to extract the data. If we go to the next slide, we see a few advantages of using CXO in combination with AARO. First of all, our AARO integration adapter, that one is pre-built. So when you install CXO, that adapter is also being installed. And the only thing that you actually need to do is you need to indicate how you would like to connect to your AARO application. We connect by making use of one user, and that user extracts the data from AARO. We can instantly read the data and the metadata from AARO, so we don't have to make any manual changes in your instance. It's already there when we install the application. And like I said, we have the option for a manual load or a scheduled sync. All the information that you have in AARO, all the different hierarchies, can be extracted to CXO. Because we extract the data and we put it into the data into our own CXO cube, we do not have an extra load on the AARO system by CXO users. And the last item that you can see on the slide indicates that we make use of MDX, which is a query language of Microsoft. And with that query language, you can create calculations in CXO. You can think of certain calculations that are not available in AARO, but that you still need in your management reporting. Those calculations you can make in CXO, and you can go as advanced as you are used to in Excel. Those calculations can be used, that MDX queries can be used really for calculations like a year-on-year growth, but you can also use that to build dynamic lists. And with that, I mean, for instance, a ranking list. So if you want to rank, for instance, your entities based on the variance between actual and budget for net profit, CXO can rank those entities every month that you open up the report. It's done in a dynamic way. This was my overview of how we connect to the AARO system.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Marcel, for just taking care of that information. So I've got one more slide and then I'm going to jump into a demonstration, and that is just to share with you you're not alone in terms of utilizing such a niche piece of software like CXO to sit on top of your consolidated planning, budgeting and forecasting data. Here are some examples of existing customers who are using CXO. You'll probably recognize some of these names listed here. And if I just point out one in particular, in the bottom left, you can see Essity. They are an AARO user within CXO. So let me jump now into a demonstration and give you a visualization of what the solution looks like and show you those 5 dashboards the CFO can use immediately. So let me just switch over to my demo environment, and you can see here that what I've actually done is just opened up an internet browser. In this case, it's Chrome, and I've got an instance of a demonstration of CXO in this training application. I'm going to sign in using my own profile that's been set up for myself. And then once I've logged in, what I'm going to do is just clean up my screen by just pressing F11, and you'll see the top and the bottom will just disappear to make the screen just a little bit cleaner for the purposes of the webinar. It also helps in explaining what we're looking at. So this is not a full demonstration. I'm just going to give you a flavor of some of the features within the solution. But from the very top, you'll see a row which I'm hovering over now, which is executive summary, P&L capital. This is where all of the dashboards are actually stored, and users would be able to click on here and actually find a particular dashboard that you're interested in. The level below is the actual name of the dashboard. In this one, it's KPIs, Communications Inc., which is the fictitious company that we've got prepared for you today, and that is at the group level of the organization. And then the row just below that, starting year 2017, period September, a view of periodic, etc. That is what we call the point of view, and that's a very, very important row, because that's the point of view that's required for all the data that's going to be present on the dashboard that features below that particular point. And the second point I'd like to raise is if I go over to the entity box and just drop this down and expand it further, in my example, you can actually see that I have Communications Inc., which is the group level of my hierarchy. Then I've got USA, Europe, South America, and Asia. And the reason I'm just reading this and pointing this out is because, as Marcel described, this is collecting the information from the underlying source system, in this example from AARO. So it's reading the entity structure that was created within the AARO function. And that's what we've spent the development time in ensuring that our adapter connects to your source system, and it allows the visualization to be clear here. Maintenance is kept down to a minimum by doing this particular method. So what else can we see? We've got a number of tiles which actually show me some key KPIs. I've got a table of information, and then right at the bottom, I did describe to you earlier that CXO is very good at collecting commentary. And there are 2 key things here. One, point of view comments. And remember, I did say the point of view is listed to the data that you see on the screen and the selectors that you've chosen from the point of view row at the top of the screen. So in other words, I'm looking at HQ comments because I'm reading it from this perspective. If I want to look at the data at the level below, so maybe the USA, etc., then I can simply just switch it to this tab, subsidiary comments, and you can see that now I can read the data from the levels below. So I've got a little workflow to share with you in a moment that actually takes care of how we collect this commentary and how we do that in detail. So there's a quick overview of CXO. Like a BI tool, you'd expect the experience for the user to be able to explore the data. And how do we do that? Well, for example, if I wanted to understand what's happening with direct costs, I would just essentially click this plus sign, and this will allow me to expand direct costs. Again, picking up the account from AARO, it's now saying that the direct costs breaks down into these 4 areas. If I wish to actually drop down a little bit further, I can actually do that, and I can change the focus of the charts on the right hand side. Currently it's on net sales, but I want to change that from travel. So I click on the travel line, and then we'll see straight away that now I'm looking at the detail by entity of travel, so I can figure out which areas are actually causing me some concern. And we can see that Europe seems to have overspent against the budget. I can then expand that particular area and maybe do some further investigations. We haven't got time in this particular webinar to show you, but I'll just hover over the feature. I could, if I wanted to, start a conversation. So I'm just hovering over another feature that we have, is the ability to take this dashboard with this view, share a conversation with a business partner within my organization and say, hey, dear Mr. Italy, what's going on with travel in your area? Is this a trend I need to be concerned about, or is just this a one-off approved situation? So you can even, outside of the month-end reporting, be able to do that wonderful analysis and keep your performance clean. So just what I'd like to do now is show you our report pack feature, and that is where I'm going to demonstrate the 5 dashboards the CFO can use immediately. And I'm just going to move to the left a little bit, and this is maintain storyboard. So this S is our reporting pack feature, and essentially everything from now on I'll be calling storyboards, but think of storyboards as your reporting packs. When I click on the S, I'm then presented with a new pop-up. On the top left, you can see this is where we maintain the storyboards. I can create a new storyboard. I can even search for storyboards, because you can imagine if I'm creating lots of different storyboards for different audiences, this list may actually grow. I'm highlighting currently on the demo monthly reporting pack, and over on the right hand side, you can see a thumbnail image of all of the different dashboards that have been added to this storyboard, which actually make up the pages within this report pack. So it's a very clever feature of bringing through everything from each dashboard now into a collection of reports. So it's a very unique way of actually bringing that together. So the one I'm actually interested in today's webinar, you can see I've actually created it already. It's called the Executive CFO Dashboard from AARO, and it currently has a front page, a profit and loss waterfall, a ranking, value tree, and a profit and loss prediction. I've got one more to add to make 5 minus the front page, and I just want to show you how easy it is to actually do that within CXO. So I'm just going to close this for a second. I'm going to go to my menu, the P&L, and it's a financial statement, profit and loss, the first one on my menu. And this is the one I want to bring in, because this is a highly used one of most CFOs in our customer base. And so I want to add this to the actual report pack and then play it for you. But before I do that, I need to just complete the commentary. So as if I was in a mini workflow and I wanted to do it from the group financial controllers level. So my point of view, 2017, September, at the group level, Comma Communications Inc., when I cast my eyes down to the bottom, we see my commentary is blank. But I do see the subsidiary comments in brackets, it does say 4. So let's just have a look at that. By clicking on it, I can expand it. And we can see that USA have made a comment, South America have made their comment, Europe have made their comment, and Asia have done theirs. So all of the 4 regions have already entered their comments. What I want to do is bring that commentary into the group level. And very simply, I just go over to this pencil, click on the feature we called copy from the children point of view, and that will automatically bring in everything from the subsidiary into my level. And then from the group level, what I want to do is just edit it. I'm just going to essentially use a small word editor to enter my group level comments. Income is good for September, just nice and simple. Let me just change this a little bit so you can see that it's different. We'll maybe put this in red. Save these comments. So I'm just very simply showing you that at the group level, I could have added an overall commentary. I've left the detail below the same, but using the editor, I could have changed it. Remember, this is a very short demonstration. What I want to do now is take this dashboard with my comments, and I want to add it to the storyboard that we spoke about earlier. So I just hover on this add to storyboard, find the storyboard I wish to add it to, which is this executive CFO dashboard with AARO. Decide on where I wish to install it. I want to install it after the front page. So it's after the front page, add the page, and as simple as that, it's now being added to that storyboard. So let's go back up to the storyboard feature. I'll just hover over it, click on the storyboard feature, go back to my storyboard, which is executive CFO dashboard, and now we can see front page is just the image of the front page for printing purposes. The second page is now the P&L. The third one is a P&L waterfall, ranking, value tree. So there's now 5 dashboards in that report pack. Very quickly, some of the features that we can do is I can export it. So I can drop it into PowerPoint, PDF, or Excel. I can share this document. So if I was the group controller and I wanted to share this with the CFO, I click on the share button, add the participants, and then it will send a note to that particular CFO that this dashboard, these 6 pages are available for you to view. And when he receives it, he can play it in the way that I'm going to play it now. So imagine now I'm the CFO, I'm playing the dashboard because I've received it. I get a little pop-up regarding some settings, but let's just play from the start. Here is the first page, as you just saw the thumbnail image. Let me click through to the second one using this play function at the top of the screen. Here is the P&L. At the bottom, you can see the comments and the that I entered a few seconds ago. I'm in the storyboard play mode, but I still have the ability to drop down net sales. I'm currently looking at gross sales on the right. I want to look at smartphones and tablets. I want to view into that. I want to switch it from the scenario of budget to forecast. So even in the storyboard mode, I still bring forward all of that analysis functionality. I step to the next one in my presentation, which is a profit and loss waterfall chart that is very popular with our CFOs in our customer base. I'm currently looking at gross margin, actual compared to budget. Again, I can switch it to maybe forecast. I'm looking at the entities for this particular organization, but maybe I wish to switch it to product, which might be a different view. So it's still within the same page, but I have all of this functionality available at my fingertips. Maybe I jump back to entity, and I'm currently looking at the regional levels, but I want to look at the base members, so I can switch it again. I want to switch the zoom off and see what the marginal changes are. I have that capability. Let me jump to the next one, which is my ranking template. And again, another popular dashboard that CFOs have told us, and it's the ability to rank information within CXO. Again, sitting on top of your AARO data. In this case, we're looking at the group level, Communications Inc., products at the total level, customer at the total level. I'm looking at net sales, top 8. I'm looking at gross margin, top 8. If I wanted to, again, I can change it. So here I have the ability to say I actually only want to look at the top 5. So you have all of that wonderful capability. I'm getting a little bit short of time, so I'm just going to step to the next couple of dashboards because they're key to most of the people on the audience, and I can see a number of questions coming in. Another interesting one that we see CFOs liking very much, which is this value tree, and it's the ability to create a KPI at the top level. So in this case, we've got net profit, and then by doing some analysis and actually dividing net profit into the the substituent parts, you're able to identify potentially where issues might be further down the value chain. So there's a potential around taxes, there's a potential around depreciation, there's an amber warning around cost of goods sold. So here you might wish to sort of dive into further details and identify how these items down in the value chain might impact upon net profit. And you can set up any KPI using this kind of value tree. I think the last one in my dashboard is the final one, which is the ability to do predictive analysis. So here we can see, again, a P&L with prediction. We're looking at some cloud revenues of the products sold within this organization. And here we're using an algorithm that looks back on the last 24 months. And then from this point onwards, where I'm just hovering with my mouse now, we can actually see 3 levels of prediction showing the worst case, the medium case, and the lower case in terms of using the historical information and predicting forward potentially where each of these items may go. And there are a number of other dashboards associated with the predictive analysis that CXO has within the solution. So that is the end of my presentation. I'm going to just jump back to the Q&A. So just if I could, everybody could just give me 1 second to jump back to the Q&A and see what questions are there. And if I can just bring Marcel back onto the line. Okay, there's a couple of questions, and just very quickly, because we're just running over the 30 minutes. Marcel, I've got a question that says, you've talked a lot about AARO being the source of the data, but can CXO also accept other sources of data?
Yes, that is possible, Alfonso. Next to AARO, we can, for instance, also connect to the Oracle Hyperion products, also to SAP, BPC, and BW, and for instance, OneStream. So we really extract the information from those systems. What we can also do is we also have an option with our data warehouse adapter to actually input data into CXO. That will be done into a separate cube, a separate database. In the end, you can make sure that all the information from the different sources come together in one report. It's even possible to have data from multiple sources in one table, for instance.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Marcel. We're just running out of time, so I've just got one quick question that somebody's asked, which is, it looks great in your dummy environment, but how do I test CXO software using my data?
Yeah, we have the option to perform a proof of concept for you, a POC. And what we then do is we install CXO in your environment, and we connect it to your AARO application. And we build around 5 to 10 different reports that you would like to see, just to prove that we can connect to your system and that we can provide the correct numbers in our different dashboards, and that we can actually do in a very short time frame. So around 5 days it will take just to perform the POC.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Marcel. Okay, so I've just popped up my contact details on the screen. If anybody has any further questions, please drop me a note or give me a call. I'd like to thank Marcel for helping me with the webinar, and I'd like to thank the audience for your participation today. Thank you very much. Goodbye.